Okay, in part two, we will finish our reading for Tuesday's task, and we will end the video by answering number 2. Okay, let's keep going with our reading. So we just heard that the bus likes to splash them down when it rains, so that's a huge issue for them when they're walking to school and it rains. Let's continue now. No one was more angered by this humiliation than Little Man. Although he had asked Mama after the first day of school why Jefferson Davis had 2 buses and Great Faith had none, he had never been totally satisfied by her answer. She had explained to him, as she had explained to Christopher John the year before and to me 2 years before that the county did not provide buses for its black students. In fact, she said, the county provided very little, and much of the money which supported the black schools came from the black churches. Great Faith Church could not afford a bus, so therefore we had to walk. This information cut deeply into Little Man's brain, and each day, when he found his clean clothes splashed red by the school bus, he became more and more embittered until finally one day he stomped angrily into the kitchen and exploded. "They done it again, Big Ma! Just look at my clothes!" Big Ma clucked her tongue as she surveyed us. "Well, go on and get out of them, honey, and wash 'em out. All of y'all get out of them clothes and dry yourselves," she said, turning back to the huge iron-bellied stove to stir her stew. "But, Big Ma, it ain't fair," wailed Little Man. "It just ain't fair." Stacy and Christopher John left to change into their work clothes, but Little Man sat on the side bench looking totally dejected as he gazed at his pale blue pants crusted with mud from the knees down. Although each night Big Ma prepared a pot of hot soapy water for him to wash out his clothing, each day he arrived home looking as if his pants had not been washed in more than a month. Big Ma was not one for coddling any of us, but now she turned from the stove and, wiping her hands on her long white apron, sat down on the bench and put her arm around Little Man. "Now, look here, baby. It ain't the end of the world. Lord, child, don't you know one day the sun'll shine again, and you won't get muddy no more?" "But, Big Ma," Little Man protested, "if'n that old bus driver would slow down, I wouldn't get muddy." Then he frowned deeply and added, "Or if'n we had a bus like theirs." "Well, he don't and you don't," Big Ma said, getting up, "so ain't no use fretting about it. One day you'll have plenty of clothes, and maybe even a car of your own to ride around in, so don't you pay no mind to them ignorant white folks. You just keep on studying and get yourself a good education, and you'll be all right. Now go on and wash out of your clothes and hang 'em by the fire so's I can iron 'em before I go to bed." Turning, she spied me. "Cassie, what you want, girl? Go change into your pants and hurry on back here so's you can help me with the supper on the table time your mama get home." So just kind of pausing, we know that their grandmother's trying to console Little Man a little bit, telling him, that it's out of their control, so like try not to let it get to you, and one day maybe you'll have your own car. But we know that like Little Man's really questioning how come they don't get a bus, why doesn't the bus slow down for them? So start thinking like your own answers to those questions. Why is it that they don't have a bus, which we can even add here on the right hand side. So I'm going to add this as a question. So why don't they get their own bus? Alright, let's keep going. That night, when I was snug in the deep feathery bed beside Big Ma, the tat-tat of the rain against the tin roof changed to a deafening roar that sounded as if thousands of giant rocks were being hurled against the earth. By morning, the heavy rain became a drizzle, but the earth was badly sodden from the night's downpour. High rivers of muddy water flowed in the deep gullies, and the wide lakes shimmered in the roads. As we set out for school, the whiteness of the sun attempted to penetrate the storm clouds, but by the time we had turned north toward the second crossing, it had given up, slinking meekly behind the blackening clouds. Soon the thunder rolled across the sky, and the rain fell like hail upon our bent heads. "Ah, shoot. I sure am getting tired of this mess," complained TJ. But no one else said a word. We were listening for the bus. Although we had left home earlier than usual to cover the northern road before the bus came, we were not overly confident that we would miss it, for we had tried the strategy before. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It was as if the bus were a living thing, plaguing and defeating us at every turn. We could not outwit it. We plodded along, feeling the cold mud against our feet, walking faster and faster to reach the crossroads. Then Christopher John stopped. "Hey, y'all, I think I hear it," he warned. We looked around but saw nothing. "Ain't nothing yet," I said. We walked on. "Wait a minute," said Christopher John, stopping the second time. "There it is again." We turned, but still there was nothing. "Why don't you clean out your ears?" TJ exclaimed. "Wait," Stacy said. "I think I hear it too." We hastened up the road to where the gully was narrower, and we could easily swing up the bank into the forest. Soon the purr of a motor came closer, and Mr. Granger's sleek silver Packard eased into view. It was a grand car with chrome shining even in the rain, and the only one like it in the county, so it was said. We groaned. Just old Harlan," said TJ flippantly, as the expensive car rounded a curve and disappeared. Then he and Claude started down the bank. Stacy stopped them. "Long as we're already up here, why don't we wait a while?" he suggested. "The bus ought to be here soon, and it'll be harder to get up on the bank farther down the road." "Aw, man, that bus ain't coming for a while yet," said TJ. "We left early this morning, remember?" Stacy looked to the south, thinking. Little man, Christopher John, and I waited for his decision. "Come on, man," TJ persuaded. "Why stay up here waiting for that devilish bus when we could be at school out of this mess?" "Well..." TJ and Claude jumped from the bank. Then Stacy, frowning as if he were doing this against his better judgment, jumped down too. Little man, Christopher John, and I followed. Okay, so just question yourself what's happening here. So we know that they have two choices right now. One is that they wait where they are because they're in a safe place, and they could either wait until the bus passes, and then once they know that it has passed, they can continue their walk. Or option B is to continue walking and try to make it to school before they even encounter the bus. So on one side, Stacy's thinking we should wait because we're safe here and the bus won't be able to get us too much if we wait here. But TJ's telling him, no, like remember that we got up earlier this morning, we should be able to beat the bus. So everyone's waiting for Stacy to ultimately decide because, you know, his younger siblings look to him to make the decision, and he decides, okay, let's just walk then. So we should be thinking, what's going to happen next? 5 minutes later, we were skidding like frightened puppies toward the bank again as the bus accelerated and barreled down the narrow, rain-soaked road. But there was no place to which we could run, for Stacy had been right. Here, the gullies were too wide, filled with almost to overflowing, and there were no briars or bushes by which we could swing up onto the bank. Finally, when the bus was less than 50 feet behind us, it veered dangerously close to the right edge of the road where we were running, forcing us to attempt to jump the bank, but all of us fell short and landed in the slime of the gully. Little man, chest deep in water, scooped up a handful of mud and in an uncontrollable rage scrambled up the road and ran after the retreating bus. As moronic rolls of laughter and cries of "Nigger, nigger, mud-eater" wafted from the open windows, Little man threw his mud ball, missing the wheels by several feet. Then, totally dismayed by what had happened, he buried his face in his hands and cried. So here we have our moment where the bus unfortunately catches up to them. They have nowhere to run, right? And so when they try to jump the bank, they don't make it. They don't make enough distance and land in the slime of the gully. Okay, let's keep reading. TJ climbed from the gully, grinning at Little man, but Stacy, his face burning red beneath his dark skin, glared so fiercely at TJ that he fell back. "Just one word out of you, TJ," he said tightly. "Just one word." Christopher John and I looked at each other. We had never seen Stacy like this, and neither had TJ. "Hey man, I ain't said nothing. I'm just as burnt as you are." Stacy glowered at TJ for a moment longer, then walked swiftly to Little man and put his long arm around his shoulders, saying softly, "Come on, man. It ain't gonna happen no more. Least not for a long while, I promise you that." Again, Christopher John and I looked questioningly at each other, wondering how Stacy could make such a rash promise. Then shrugging, we hurried after him. When Jeremy Sims spied us from his high perch on the forest path, he ran hastily down and joined us. "Hey," he said, his face lighting to a friendly grin, but no one spoke to him. The smile faded, and noticing our covered clothing, he asked, "Hey, Stacy, what happened?" Stacy turned, stared into his blue eyes, and said coldly, "Why don't you leave us alone? How come you always hang around us anyway?" Okay, so if we remember, we deducted that he's a white boy. We know that because he's tow-headed from the last chapter. So here we have him, and he realizes what happens, and Stacy tells him to leave him alone. So that's where we're going to pause for our reading today. So tomorrow we will find out what's going to happen with Jeremy and what's going to happen as they try to cheer little man up. Okay, but to end our video today, we're going to answer number 2. So why are the children prohibited from going to the Wallace store? And remember that we already have our evidence highlighted in green. So let's just choose the line that we like the most. I like this one the most because I feel like it captures a summary of why, like the kind of place it is and why parents wouldn't want their children going there. So I'm going to choose that as my piece of evidence. Okay, I copied it, and then here, remember, we're going to do the says means matters. So in the text, it says, paste the formatting, and then once again, this is dialogue. This is the papa telling them something. So your mama tells me a lot of the older children have been going up to that Wallace store after school to dance and buy their bootleg liquor and smoke cigarettes. Okay, this is coming from page 9. Okay, so this means that the Wallace store is a place where children are able to drink and smoke without their parents' permission. Okay, so as I was telling you guys, I'm going to start leaving some of it off so you can finish it with me, but we're going to say like, this shows that the Logan, I'm not going to capitalize children. Children are prohibited, means not allowed, right? Not allowed to go to the Wallace store because, okay, and then I'm gonna let you finish that. I mean, just think like, why do you think that your parents wouldn't let you go to this store if it existed around your neighborhood? So I think, as you finish that up, I would say like, why is their dad trying to stop them from going to this place where there's dancing, bootleg liquor, and cigarettes going on? And with that being said, that's the end of our video. So tomorrow we will be completing Wednesday's task, which is going to be to read pages 16 to 24. We'll answer text-dependent question number 3, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the bus situation and with Stacy promising little man this is never going to happen again. So we will find out. Thanks for listening.